The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Halloween weekend show. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. Thank you for taking time to talk money. I provide you news on everything regarding your money, fresh information, and market trends on conditions in our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have in studio today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. You'll want to hold on to that number, 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for studio today, I just have a couple women in studio. So it's all girls, and we're actually going to talk about real estate, everything on real estate today. Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors. Today's show is Scary Real Estate Stories and the Power of Ghost-Busting Realtors. Steph and Heidi, thank you so much for joining me today.
We're very excited to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Tina. Great to be here.
It's great to have you back, Heidi. It's been a little while since I've had you in studio.
You're right. It has been a couple of years.
Yeah. So again, it's going to be a great show. You'll definitely want to hold on to the show number, 1-855-400-1150. Again, 1-855-400-1150 if you want to talk to either of my guests about real estate. And let's go ahead and start out the show with a little money chat.
Money.
Market wrap-up from the Fed's two-day meeting earlier in the week. As expected, the Federal Reserve Federal Open Market Committee voted to end the bond buying stimulus program, commonly known as QE3. The accompanying Federal Open Market Committee conveyed several upbeat signals to the financial markets that the Fed wasn't worried about global weakness, low inflation, or jittery financial markets. The Fed continued to use past language that rates would remain near zero for considerable time. However, they also stated if the economy improves faster than expected, then the first rate hike could come sooner than anticipated. The statement also made a major change to the Fed's view on the labor markets. Instead of stating there was significant underutilization in the labor market that was included in their September statement, the Fed said that the underutilized in labor resources is gradually diminishing. On inflation, the Fed said that the surveys are long-term inflation expectations have remained stable, and low inflation has been held down by low energy prices, and the likelihood of inflation running persistently below 2% has diminished somewhat since the early year. In housing and mortgage industry news, the Mortgage Banker Association's weekly mortgage application surveys for the week ending October 24 showed that their market composite index fell 6.6% on a seasonal adjustment basis from the prior week. The seasonal adjustment purchase index was at the lowest since February of 2014. CoreLogic released their foreclosure report for the month of September 2014, showing that there were 46,000 completed foreclosures nationwide, down from the 86,000 in September in 2013. As September of 2014, approximately 607,000 homes nationally were in some state of foreclosure, known as the foreclosure inventory, compared to 924,000 in September of 2013. So with this information, as we've all said in the industry and experts as far as what mortgage interest rates are going to do, is the anticipation they have to increase. It's just been really surprising that they haven't increased yet. So I'm still saying take advantage of the opportunities that you have for purchasing. If you haven't looked at the opportunities for refinancing, rerun the numbers or take a look at that and see if it makes sense for you now before we see the increase in mortgage interest rates. The 30-year fixed rate over last week were around 4.25%, depending on the day. Obviously not quoting rates today. It depends on a lot of different factors, qualifying factors, credit score, income, and loan to value. But for example purpose or hypothetical purposes only, if we just take a look at 4.125% on a $400,000 loan amount, that would be a principal and interest payment of $1,940 a month. So if we just saw a 0.25% increase in the interest rates over the short term, let's just say 4.375, that would increase the payment to $2,000 a month. That's for the principal and interest, excluding taxes and insurance. So the difference with a 0.25% increase in the interest rate market would be $60 a month. And really what that means is you've lost buying power of maybe about $10,000 a month. Depending on your down payment, that calculation is going to be a little bit different. But $10,000 additional in property is substantial. And in some situations, it's going to make or break you being able to get into the neighborhood that you want to for your family. Now, the anticipation is high 5s to 6% before the end of 2015. So let's just say the rate went to 5.75%. That on a $400,000 loan, that would be a principal and interest payment of $2,335. The difference being $395 a month. So almost $400 an additional a month in your mortgage payment. Now we're talking about an additional $60,000, give or take, in buying power. Substantial difference between taking advantage of the opportunity that you might have now with the interest rates as low as they are. Now, also, you've got to consider the appreciation. My guess, and I'm sure my real estate experts in studio would anticipate as well, that we're going to continue to see some appreciation over the next year. And on a $450,000 home, just at a 1% appreciation, it's $4,500. So every 1% the market increases, that's an additional $4,500 that you're seeing, or 25 increase in your mortgage payment. So again, the opportunity to get into the market is really good right now. Things have slowed down a little tiny bit from what I've seen with my buyers. Some of them are jumping off the fence, and just basically meaning that there's not as many multiple offers, which actually can be a benefit. Even though it's slowed down a little bit, that could be on a positive side for you as a buyer, because you're not competing in multiple offer situations on some homes. Now, there's still a lot of them where you're seeing multiple offers, but with that, in multiple people making an offer on the same home and trying to negotiate the best offer, ultimately you're going to pay more for that house. So again, get out in the market, take advantage. If you have any questions, feel free to give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or you can go online to themoneyhour.com. And coming up next on the Money Hour, one of my trusted resources, two of my trusted resources are right here in studio to talk on our local real estate market and advise for buyers and sellers. Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
Hey America, we are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet.
Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care, people, for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
Enroll!
So listen to me, a talking pug, you see. If you get health insurance, preventive care is now free.
So sweet. You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options. That's getcoveredamerica.org.
And take care, people!
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Halloween weekend show. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call into the show at 1-855 400-1150. Again, that's 1-855 400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, I have Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors, and we're talking everything on real estate with a little Halloween twist. Heidi, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me in studio today.
Thanks for having us, Tina.
Thank you.
And a little background, Stephanie McCarthy, for over 20 years, Stephanie has been involved in the real estate industry in many capacities. It started in escrow, then a sales rep for a national title company, to selling and assisting with mergers and acquisitions for Coldwell Banker, ERA, GMC, and real estate franchises. Later, she joined her husband in starting their own real estate company. 2001, they started McCarthy Real Estate, and later joined the national brand Real Living Northwest Realtors. Giving back to her community is so essential in what she does and is another important part of Stephanie's life. Her involvement in the community includes Rotary, the chapter, and the North Shore Scholarship Foundation. All in all, real estate is a passion and continues to be a flow in her life. Stephanie is a Realtor certified residential specialist, performance management network certification, member of the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, Premier Service Award recipient, voted 5-star Realtor through a Seattle Magazine, global relocation specialist, past president of the King County Women's Council of Realtors 2013, and incoming president for Washington State Women's Council of Realtors 2015. Wow, Stephanie, you've got a lot of things behind you and a lot of experience in the industry, and I'm so excited. First time having you in studio. Thank you so much.
Well, this is quite a treat to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And a little bit about Heidi. Heidi first started thinking about real estate as a career at the young age of 12. She helped her sister, Anita, study for the Washington State Real Estate License Exam and thought that someday that would be an interesting choice of careers. Heidi went to study at the University of Washington, eventually leaving for New York City to pursue her career as a model and actress in print and TV. Heidi moved back to Seattle with her 2 children in 2000 and immediately went into real estate and has earned her managing broker's license along with other specialties, including senior real estate specialist. She believes in the concept of wake up money, which simply encourages people to invest in real estate for investment purposes, which was one of the last topics, Heidi, that we talked about when you were in studio with me a little while ago.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and start out. You guys have so much experience in the industry, 15 plus years in real estate. Why is experience so important? Can you share that with my listeners?
Well, experience is very important because over the years, every transaction is so completely different. And you start to build your toolbox of help going forward. And what I mean by that is, like I mentioned, every transaction is completely different. And once you get through one hurdle, you're going to put that tool in your toolbox and be able to pull it out again and use it a little bit later. Also, networking and building relationships with others within the industry is so huge because when you are working on negotiating a deal with another agent, that relationship is so powerful. And you can definitely tell the power of the other agent as well with their experience. And so the networking piece, and that's why I've joined so many organizations, is huge. And then finally, building your toolbox of affiliates that can help you through the process and help your clients through the process. I can't be the expert in all pieces of the process, but I can find the experts in those fields and truly, with experience, you find out who those people are.
That is so true, Stephanie. And Heidi, what do you say about experience?
I believe exactly what Stephanie says. There's so many things that we learn along the way. Mm-hmm. I keep most of my files in my garage. So if I see something coming up along the line, say seller financing, something like that, something that we're not usually dealing with, fortunately. But I can go back and look at the file and say, oh, this is what I did when I needed to deal with a seller financing piece of property.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I going back to what Stephanie said as well on the networking side, I know when you guys act as a listing agent, because both of you represent sellers and you represent buyers. And when you're representing a seller and you've got multiple offers that are coming in, that real estate agent's name that's on that contract can make or break the process, because the agents that have a good reputation have been doing this long term and have the experience, it's going to be a better process for everybody.
Right. It's good to know when you've dealt with that agent and how fair they are, and
yes,
you appreciate their business.
Yeah, great point. So can both of you share a quick spooky story, and that because of the experience that you have, that you've been able to help your clients through the process?
Well, I actually have an interesting story.
Stephanie, you have a lot of interesting real estate stories, I'm sure.
Well, one that just recently happened, and as an owner of a real estate company, it's also my duty to really look over the transactions of our agents as well. And I had a client that I actually referred to one of our agents who was a newer agent, and they were very excited. Both the client and the agent were very excited. They found a house that they just loved, and it was in their perfect price range. And when we started looking over everything, I just looked over the documents, and the very first one that I looked over was the Form 17, which is a disclosure form that a client needs to fill out when they're selling their home to write everything that they know that has happened to the home. And so when the agent and I were talking, I looked on the last page and noticed in small print that the house had been previously a meth house.
Wow.
And the agent on the other side, we called and spoke to the agent, and the agent had explained that the house had been cleaned up, everything was ready to go, and they had their special team come out and clean it. But further investigating it, we knew that our clients wanted to start a family there. And you need to start taking into consideration all of those pieces, because if you've had a meth house, you have a lot of interesting characters coming by to visit that house. And so as it turned out...
That's a pretty spooky story.
As it turned out, the regulations for cleaning up something like that aren't probably to the standards always that we have.
Yeah.
And so...
Especially what we want for our buyers, right?
Absolutely. So they actually did have somebody else come out and look at the grounds, and they did find remnants of it. And to finish this story, it was actually, this house was on the news the next day. It was a pretty big deal. And so, needless to say, due to the Form 17, we chose not to go forward with that. But it's fine-tuning and looking at all of the words, understanding your documents very well.
Yeah, and what a great example of experience, and what a really spooky life that could have been for that family, having to live in that home and have not known that. Heidi, any stories that you have?
Sure. One time, when we go look at houses, when I first walk into a house and I'm talking to a seller about what they should be looking at, maybe to fix up or what we need to do to, stage, I'll look around the house and we'll look at like the hot water tank. If the hot water tank is tied down for the earthquake purposes, or say the furnace needs to be checked up on, or whatever. But when we walk around the outside of the house, sometimes people don't realize when there's a little pipe sticking up how important that can be. And what it is typically it's a sign that there is some kind of an oil tank under there. And one time I had a really great seller. She had no idea she had an oil tank in her yard. And had we not fixed that, had it decommissioned, it could have been a real hiccup when we went to purchase, and our buyer would have had that inspection, saw that oil tank, and they may have walked just based on that.
So, how long did she own the house for?
She'd been there for like 12 years and somehow didn't know.
Oh, my gosh.
Right.
Wow. So it's, and again, it's just really about the experience and making sure that you're working with a real estate agent, and not only the experience, but the the heart of actually taking care of the clients and wanting to do that extra work and take that extra step to make sure that everything is good. So you used realtor versus real estate brokers. Can you share with my listeners the difference?
Absolutely. Everybody can be a real estate agent or a real estate broker. Not everybody is a realtor. And it is an organization that you join, and it's actually the largest professional organization in the world. And what is so wonderful about being a realtor is the ongoing education, the standards of ethics and standards that we have to uphold. We actually have to take special courses every year or every 2 years to uphold the standards within the realtor organization. Not to mention, when you are looking at somebody's cards or any of their marketing, there are all sorts of acronyms behind the name. And a lot of times the client doesn't realize what all of those mean. But most of those, you can get those only by being a realtor. And it is a higher level of professionalism in order to get those designations. And it's very powerful. Not to mention, with this organization, they fight for the client's rights and they fight for the agent's rights as well.
Sure. It's part of the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and under that umbrella is the Washington State Association of Realtors. And we do take classes like CORE and all that stuff to keep up our ethics training and things like that. But we spend a lot of money. We pay over $600 a year towards this organization so they can protect not only us as a realtor, but as the public, the buyers and the sellers. They make it easier for the buyers and sellers to maintain the ability to buy property and sell property in Washington State. And they also keep our taxes down, such like excise tax, which is at 1.78 now. Not long ago, they were trying to raise that tax a little bit higher. And the NAR, or was the Washington State of Realtors, they kept that tax down. I was really proud of our
well, yeah, they're doing a lot of fighting. They're trying to make sure that we keep our tax benefit of homeownership, and there's just a lot of things that they're doing to protect homeowners, consumers, as well as as your profession.
Exactly.
Experience is almost like a ghost. You can't see it, but you can feel its presence. So, what are some of the telltale signs where you can recognize that you're working with a trusted advisor, skilled negotiator, and expert facilitator?
Well, one of the things is being a realtor, or being a client, you can tell the difference of somebody who is very passionate about what they're doing. People are either salespeople or educators, and that is the difference. You want to hire somebody who's going to educate you and not just try to sell you and agree with everything you say so that they can get the house sold and get their commission. And that is one thing that we really do, is we really let the clients know that we are educators of the market trends, what the values of homes are, and gathering all of the statistics. And that is the sign, really, of working with somebody who you can trust to be on your side and be the advocate for you when purchasing this home, because this is the largest purchase that you're going to experience.
That makes total sense. Heidi, I'm going to hold you for a second. I got to take us to break. And if you're listening, you definitely want to stay tuned in. I've got a dynamic duo here in real estate with Real Living Northwest Realtors, both experts and just amazing real estate agents and people. And so you definitely want to stay tuned in. Coming up next on the Money Hour today, I'm having a conversation with them all about the real estate market, everything that you want and need to know about the local market and industry leaders, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
A message from DAV to all returning veterans. Thank you. Thank you for doing your duty. Thank you for doing our bidding. Thank you for laying it all on the line. Thank you for stepping up and not backing down. Thank you for putting your future on hold to put our enemies on notice. Thank you for putting your buddies' lives ahead of your own. Thank you for putting yourself in harm's way. Thank you for defending our freedom, for displaying your honor, for being a hero, even though you don't want to be called one. For all this and more, DAV thanks you, and we're here to help you. Expert DAV advisors will make sure you get the health, disability, and financial benefits you were promised and earned. If you're a veteran, visit DAV.org for free help. And again, thank you.
I spent the night in a homeless shelter.
I slept in my car last night.
I went to school hungry.
Every day, right here in our own community, men, women, and children don't have enough to eat and are forced to find shelter anywhere they can. Volunteers of America Western Washington is here to help. Besides food and cash donations, your unwanted vehicle can be used to turn lives around. To donate your vehicle, call 877-CAR-4VOA or visit car4voa.org.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Halloween Weekend Special. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything money. I'm here to help you in today's economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, to talk with either the guests that I have in studio or myself, feel free to pick up the phone, give the show a call at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And I'm sitting here in studio with Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors. Thanks again, you guys, for joining me in studio and for being here for the entire show. It's just really exciting to have both of you here.
Thanks, Tina.
So let's go ahead and start out with the importance of truth or dare.
Well, let me start by explaining what this means. Are you looking for somebody who is going to tell you the truth on what's happening in the market, what's happening with your home to better price it, even though it might not sound so great because maybe it comes in lower than what you as a client were expecting? Or are you looking for somebody you're going to take a dare? And what I mean by that is somebody, an agent that might come in and listen to the client's needs, and their house really should be listed at $500, but they think it needs to be listed at $575 because they know all of the stuff that they did to their house. And so that's really where that question stems from. You want to be able to, one thing that I learned at one of my National Association of Realtors meetings was one of the agents who was teaching the class had the most wonderful line: do I have the permission to be honest with you? Because a lot of times, if they don't answer that question, you realize they're not hiring you as the professional that you are.
Yeah.
And so it's a really big deal because it's one of those things that you'll continuously come back to them and say, you know, you shared with me that you wanted me to be honest about this. And yes, your house is gorgeous. You've done wonderful things. But honestly, what people are buying these houses for in this condition is at this price. On a different level of buying a home, you know, you can walk through a home and your clients, they love everything about it. But one thing that I do is I say, you know, I'm going to kind of be the devil's advocate here because you see all the pretty things right now. But as a realtor, I'm always looking at resale, how it's going to look down the road. So I do like to pinpoint things like you're backed up to the freeway. And I want you to be aware of what that's going to look like when you turn around and try to sell it. And are you okay with that? Because people obviously do buy homes near the freeway, but I just want them to be aware
or
for
near
the
a power
future.
line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. You want to have somebody that's going to be honest with you. They're going to tell you, those knickknacks are beautiful, but you really need to put them away.
Yes.
Or you're gonna tell somebody, we can't see your house, and if they can't see your house, you can't sell the house.
Yes.
So you clean up the yard, take the knickknacks away, maybe even take up the carpet if there's some kind of an animal smell.
Sure.
But you have to be with somebody that you can trust to be honest with you.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So how do you advise your clients for moving into or out of a home that won't later haunt them?
Well, the first thing we do is, have an inspection. Be great to have pre-inspections when the sellers are initially putting their home on the market. That could save them from a lot of heartache and a lot of negotiation down the line. So we do that. We also encourage our buyers and our sellers to do their due diligence. Things like maybe tell our buyers to look up on the internet what the neighborhood is going through. If there's any registered sex offenders, for instance, if there's do we see barking dogs in the neighborhood? I mean, all kinds of things that can pop up down the line that you had no idea was going to be there.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Things you think of that maybe they wouldn't think of.
Or you have a condo that has a beautiful view right now, but you want to investigate a little bit further to see if that view is going to be taken away, if any permits had been pulled, and just kind of figure out what's going on in the neighborhood to help them out. And, this is a big one because there's so many things you can do as a realtor, but also having your clients get involved in the process in doing some due diligence on things that maybe they feel a little bit uneasy about. And just by going to our website, you're able to pull up like demographics, you're able to pull up schools, and those are great things to investigate as well.
Not long ago, there was a neighborhood that had an association where they were in an argument, and there was actually somebody walking around at midnight knocking on doors with a gun in the hand, telling people to put their garbage cans back and put them away. And so I knew about that neighborhood problem. I shared it with my buyer in case she wanted to go into that neighborhood. And unfortunately, she did not want to deal with that, and I didn't blame her. But that was just something that came up because I knew previously I'd heard about that.
Yeah. So how do you protect yourself and your clients from scary situations?
Well, for instance, like when we're looking at houses, we make it very clear. I do. Whenever I walk into a house, I yell very loud, "Agent! Agent on board!" And sometimes we'll walk in there. I'll put myself between myself and a dog. I'll tell my clients to wait back out in the car if I see something scary.
Wow, Heidi.
Things like that, yeah.
Stephanie?
But there's also some really funny things that you walk into that...
Oh, no,
I could go on about this.
I'm afraid.
And I will keep this clean right now.
Okay, good.
But yeah, there have been many circumstances when you walk into a house and you see things you probably shouldn't have seen because they might not have received a phone call that you were coming.
Wow.
So those are situations why it's always good to go in first. But another thing, I just had this situation come up. I had an open house and I had it marketed for a certain time. And after the open house, the clients came back to the house and we were all packed up and gone. And a random person just came and knocked on the door and said, "Oh, I saw you had an open house and I just missed it." And so the client called me and she was all excited. And she goes, "And I'm just taking anybody and everybody, letting them in the house." And so I just said, "Come on in." And I said, "Wait a minute. When we first sat down and talked about this, one of the very important things is any realtor or real estate agent that comes in with a client, never let them in without them putting their code into the key box that's on the front door. Second, there are some interesting folks out there, and I think we're even a little bit more heightened right now because of what happened with Beverly Carter, an agent who...
in Arizona.
And that was not, unfortunately, she met somebody that she didn't know to go show a house and had a very tragic ending. But I said, whatever you do, do not let anybody in without a realtor. because there are scary things that can happen. Another thing is when you are having like an open house, one thing that we always share with our clients is make sure you put away all of your prized possessions and medicine. And as sick as that might sound, there are people that will come through and
specifically for looking for those prescriptions.
Absolutely. It's a really big deal. And thank goodness to our affiliation with the Northwest Multiple Listing Service. Anytime that there is some creepy person out there doing this, they post it so that everybody is aware. And those are just things that we do to really protect our clients and actually ourselves as well.
Yeah. So I may have some listener listening out there right now, whether they're looking at buying or selling a property, and they might be asking, why use a realtor?
Well, there are many people that can do a lot of things. And sure, there are people that can try to sell their homes by themselves. However, one of the things is we are professionally trained on all standpoints of selling a home or buying a home. And there are so many things that I think are overlooked when somebody is trying to save money by not having to pay a commission. But what you're really hiring a person for on both sides is the seller. There are so many people that you need to be involved with during this process. And from the first question that we talked about is the power of networking and the people that you suggest helping them. Like, who is a good reputable title company? Who is a good escrow person? Who is a good loan originator? Not to mention, there are trends in the market that can really throw people for a loop. For example, just in the last couple of months, it's been, a little bit longer, but it's been a seller's market, but there have been a lot of multiple offer situations. And that is quite a challenge in itself, tackling multiple offers, sitting down with your client and going through that whole process. But we're kind of going into another trend right now where, sure, there are still some multiple offers, but it is slowing down. And there were a lot of people that they would lower the price a little bit to get as many offers in as they possibly could. But you really should be selling your house for what it's worth, because that process, that trend has actually slowed down a little bit just due to what's happening around the world right now. There's a little bit of uncertainty, and people are kind of holding off a little bit more than they were just, say, 2 months ago. And being able to share that with a client is really big. But then on the buyer side, it's the same thing. A lot of times, and there's some organizations, there's some companies that say, if you're going to buy a house, you can save some money by going in and talking to the listing agent. And if they write up the offer and do both sides, maybe you get a better deal. Well, actually, the buyer doesn't pay for any of the commission. So why on earth would you do that? You want somebody representing you because, honestly, that listing agent is representing the seller.
And I think of a buyer that does do that, they may not understand that the listing agent is in a multiple, or when they're representing both sides, they're actually representing the seller because they've signed that contract with the seller first. And so if there's any conflict that comes up between the buyer and the seller, which this is a negotiating process, and when you get into contract, there's all kinds of things that can come up that could be benefit to the seller versus the buyer or opposite.
Absolutely.
So they have to represent the seller's best interest. So that's a scary situation to be in.
Not to mention the stress we relieve.
Yes, exactly.
And we do. I mean, the National Association of Realtors did report recently that a typical FSBO home, a for sale by owner home, sold for $184,000 compared to the $230,000 among agent-assisted homes.
Yeah, unbelievable. So it's definitely worth it to hire a real estate expert. And as you've heard on the show today, how important it is to find one that has experience and is going to get you top dollar and be able to communicate with you truthfully on the situation with your home. So coming up next on the Money Hour, here to continue our discussion about our local real estate market, Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
They just told us right away that we're going to house you, we're going to feed you, and every single one of his medical bills is just all taken care of.
They've saved my family from financial ruin. It allowed me and my wife both to focus on the most important thing, which was the health and well-being of our son.
We have phenomenal research, outstanding clinical care, and the generosity of public, which allow us to treat patients regardless of what it takes. And that's what makes St. Jude so magical.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, families never receive a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because the only thing a family should worry about is helping their child live.
Doctors send us the toughest cases to be treated at St. Jude, and our patients come from all over the world.
When we come here, they told me, don't worry, everything's being taken care of.
We could never repay St. Jude for what they've given us.
Because of you.
Gracias a ti.
Because of you.
There is St. Jude.
This Movember, men around the world are growing mustaches for men's health. They're taking a stand and getting it grown. Because what we make in life, what we do for others, makes us. Doing something, even making conversation, or making time for someone can have an impact. Join us this Movember and raise funds to combat prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health problems. Changing the face of men's health. We are Made in Movember. Sign up now at Movember.com.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Halloween weekend show. I'm dedicated to my listeners, providing you with tools needed to make informed decisions on all matters that affect your money. If you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com to talk with either of the guests that I have in studio. I have Stephanie McCarthy and Heidi Braund with Real Living Northwest Realtors. Thanks again, both of you, for being here and hanging out with me for the entire show.
Thanks, Tina. This is great.
So in the spirit of our Halloween weekend special, some of my listeners may be asking, does the housing market have to be scary?
I don't think so. I think the housing market can be scary if you're not, prepared. But if you get yourself pre-qualified, the range of house you want to get into, you have a list of wish lists, is what I call it, a bunch of things that you would really like to see in a house, like a 2-car garage or 3 bedrooms, things like that. And you're willing to give and take, because it's not often that we get the whole wish list. But I think really being pre-qualified with a really good lender with good communication skills is the first thing for you.
I totally agree, Heidi. Preparation is the key to anything that we do in life, and especially when it comes to anything regarding money. It's really preparing early. And I like what you said with the wish list and really having an idea. You want to know what you want in a home, but you also want to know what things you're willing to give up, because when you get out there in the market, sometimes you can't get everything that you want. So really having that conversation ahead of time so that you can be strategic and not make a bad decision, because that's where it can get scary.
Right. And sometimes husbands and wives don't agree on what,
isn't
what
that
they
most
want.
of the time? Stephanie, what about you?
Well, when you're asking about the housing market, I kind of look at it a little bit differently too, and like what's been happening with the market in general with housing. People purchased homes during this years ago that have actually lost value, and they want to turn around and sell or move due to all sorts of circumstances. And, the housing market here is so robust. It's great. We don't actually have enough inventory for all of those out there looking. We have a really dynamic area here in Seattle. The economy is great. We have people moving into this area, being relocated into this area all the time, and all of those people do need houses. And so for those who are kind of holding on to the home, hoping that it's going to come up in price by huge amounts, knowing that there are still people out there that are moving into the area that have money to purchase homes, that's a really big deal. And we need to keep that in mind, because we are very lucky over here with our economy, and more so than other places in the United States.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a scary thing in getting into real estate, a listener may be going, geez, people bought in the prime of the market and then the market crashed. The reality of it is, if we continue following the history of real estate market, the real estate market will always appreciate. So the scary thing is just if you're forced to sell in a bad market. Now, people that bought at the prime of the market before the meltdown, they're getting back close, depending on what area that we're talking about, closer ahead of where, when that happened. So the market is recovering, and history shows that it always does. The scary thing is just, again, being forced to sell in a bad market. If you can hold on, real estate is one of the safest investments, or it is the safest investment that we have historically.
I agree.
Absolutely. And like Stephanie said, in this market, it's unbelievable because our employment opportunity is just amazing. So how do you keep your home from looking like a haunted house to potential buyers? What is the best way to show and or market your home?
The best thing to do is just get rid of a lot of things. Get the surfaces clean. Take as many things and put them into storage as possible. Of course, leave the lights on, play some nice music, have it smelling fresh. Don't you think?
And the holidays are coming up. There's some great things that we can do in the Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday that's coming up to really take advantage of that when you're selling your home.
Well, absolutely. That is fun. But it is, one thing is a seller has pride of this home. I mean, and you should. I read an awesome article about your home really shows a piece of your integrity of who you are. And so when you're asking people to hide their integrity, sometimes that doesn't feel so good. But the biggest thing is to make it look bigger by taking everything off the walls. And we have stagers come in, and stagers play such a huge role in this, because I know personally when I'm sitting here looking at rearranging my living room, which I do all of the time, it's at a certain point, you just don't even know how to rearrange it again. And a stager can come in and see beyond where you've kind of come to an end and you can't rearrange anymore. And I just can't even push that enough. The other thing is, when we are marketing a home, the best way to market it really is to, we have a professional photographer come in and take pictures so that we can do a virtual tours, which are just amazing, because most people go online before they even go out and meet with a realtor, before they even go look at homes. But, really getting it out there into the social media, and the way that you also, the pictures are actually really big. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times people will come and say, wow, the pictures were actually way better than what the house looked like. But the power of that, too, is it pulls all sorts of people in to come and look at these homes. And that is very big.
And that is key, Stephanie. And I know that they, when people are starting to look online, which everybody's starting to look online, and when there's a lot of homes out there and you're pushing things out of your favorites and deleting them, those homes are deleted and they're not coming back.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that first impression, and our first impression now is online. The second impression is walking up to the front door.
Right.
That's right.
So consumers that can think outside of the box are going to win in this market. How can you advise your clients to win if they get into a multiple offer situation? So what's one thing, Heidi, that you're doing to help your buyers win in multiple offer scenarios?
Well, we have a really strong letter from our lender, and we always make sure our lender will call the the listing agent to make sure they've made contact. I know you do that, Tina, and I'm always grateful when you do that, because when we do, we typically get the deal. Let's see, what else, Steph?
Well, that piece that you just said is huge. I get responses back from the other agent many times going, wow, okay, your lender called. I don't typically have lenders calling and giving the power of their backing. But also, I always ask the other broker involved, what's most important to your client? Because maybe it's not always the money. Maybe it's somebody who's lived in that home for 50 years and they're really kind of like they built a whole book of memories in this house, and they want somebody to come in and love it the way that they did. So that is it's a very simple question, but it really does make a difference.
Yeah, and I think that's important is in finding out what the seller's needs are, because maybe it's closing and having extended closing date.
That's right.
Maybe they've got a lot of things going on in their life, and I saw something in a contract where they had said that for the seller to leave all their garbage, leave all your stuff, everything's there, and we as the buyer, we will actually take on the inconvenience and the cost associated to that, and that could be a big thing for a seller.
Yeah, that's huge. Or maybe even letting the seller live there for a month while they're looking for their new home.
Yes. I actually kind of have a fun story on that, and you just brought this up, Tina. But I had a home that was in despair. Let's put it that way.
Distressed property,
and
right.
the homeowner had a lot of items in the house and was really having a difficult time packing it up and moving it. And so what the other agent and I talked about was, what if this person just moved all the things out that they wanted and then left everything else there?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, this person was moving that didn't have a lot of money and was nervous about how they were going to move everything. So we actually paid for a mover to come and move it, and then took care of that cost. And it was huge. I can't even tell you. And so, coming up with some creative ideas that are really going to help the seller out in the end is pretty big.
Remember, as a buyer, the seller is emotional, has emotions just like you do.
That's right.
They love their house. They're stressed about their next move, and there's a lot of things that are going on. So the more that you can emotionally connect to the seller and understanding what their needs are, we need to ask questions. We know that's the first basic step in communication, right? So why would it be any difference when you're making an offer on a house?
Absolutely.
So if I have a listener that's listening right now that's thinking, you know what, after listening to the show, I really want to get into the real estate market. I'm going to make that move now where the prices are good before the interest rates continue to go up. What is the first step that you would advise one of my listeners to take before engaging into the home buying process?
You absolutely have to get pre-qualified. That's the first thing you do, and then once you know that, you're home free.
So talking with a lender, and if you need assistance, that's what I do as a full-time career when I'm not talking with you guys on the weekend, is talk with your mortgage consultant and find out what you can actually do. Get pre-qualified or pre-approved so you know exactly what you can do, and also finding out where your objective is in a payment, and making sure that you understand what that's going to be able to purchase you, because when you get out in the market, it can get pretty stressful if you haven't decided where your cap and limit is. Stephanie, what about you? What are you advising your buyers the first step?
Well, I obviously do the same thing.
Maybe the second step, yes.
But the next thing I like to do, and we have this program within our organization called Premier Service, where before we go out, I sit down with them and share with them everything that I'm going to do as their hired realtor. But then we also say, what is most important to you? And it's pretty funny because so many times people don't really think about that. A lot of times they just think, okay, they're going to throw us in the car, we're going to go around and look, or they're going to come over and look at my house and take notes and then just list it. But it is really important of what's important to them, because there are certain times that they want to be called, or certain ways that they want to be reached through the email or texting, and how they want to go about looking at properties. Because, like somebody had mentioned here earlier, there are a lot of times when, like partners, when they're going out looking at homes, they each have their own idea of what this process is going to look like and their own list of what's important to them in the home. So it really makes them kind of chew on this a little bit longer so that we can put it then into our own personal Premier Service contract and refer back to it when we need to.
Makes total sense. And when the needs that they have, when we talk about payment objective, because I talk with a lot of spouses purchasing together, partners purchasing together, and they're not on the same page as their payment objective either. So you really need to have this conversation and preparing. Wow, what a short day. It seemed like it was a short hour. It went by really, really quick. And I'm so glad that you guys were able to hang out with me for the entire show and put a little Halloween spin on it. And love your Halloween costumes. For everybody that's listening, you can't actually see us, but we are dressed for the occasion. So thank you, both of you, again, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
It was our honor. Thank you.
Happy, safe Halloween.
Thank you. And everyone, enjoy your weekend. And thank you for being with me here. This is your host signing out for the day. I will be back same time, same place, right here at 1150 AM KKNW.
The preceding program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.